Have you ever woken up today with that strange feeling in your chest? An invisible weight that had no logical explanation, a deep fatigue even after hours of sleep, a sudden urge to cry for no apparent reason, or that bad feeling that something is watching you, blocking you, pulling you down with every step you try to take. Do not ignore it, because what is happening to you at this exact moment is not a coincidence. It is not stress. It is not just a bad day. It is the invisible mark of a force that was launched against your life today. And this force has a very ancient name, more dangerous than many imagine: envy. Not the superficial envy the world talks about. Not that silly jealousy between neighbors in a suburb like Silver Spring that ends in gossip. I am talking about spiritual envy, the kind that leaves through the eyes and anchors itself in your aura, the kind that transforms into a whispered word, a repeated thought, a silent desire to see you fall. And today, chosen one, today is the day God decided to call checkmate on this dirty game they tried to set up against you. There is something inside you that knows deeply, that your life was marked for something great. And precisely because of that, opposing forces move with such intensity against you, because no one wastes time attacking an irrelevant person. No one sends spiritual arrows against someone ordinary. Envy is only born where there is light, where there is destiny, where there is a visible purpose, even if not yet fully manifest. If you are under attack, chosen one, it is because your crown was already seen in the spiritual realm even before you touched it on earth. Think about it. Why does everything seem to go wrong exactly when you are about to win? Why does your family argue on the eve of that achievement in Chicago? Why does that mysterious illness appear right at the moment of your financial breakthrough in Charlotte? Why does that friend from Boston distance themselves without reason just when you would need their support the most? Why does your mind scramble exactly on the day of the decisive meeting in Manhattan? It is not chance. It has never been chance. It is the game of envy being played behind the scenes, in layers that ordinary eyes do not see. But today, I am going to teach you to see. And that is exactly why something inside you never fit into the shallow explanations of the world. You have already tried therapy, family advice, self-help, superficial meditation, and nothing could touch this deep pain, this discomfort that seems to come from another place, another dimension. It is not madness. It is not an exaggeration. It is your soul recognizing that the war against you is not of this plane. The envy that tried to lock up your life today is just the visible layer of a much larger spiritual game, where you are not a victim, where you are not a supporting character. You are the centerpiece. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, the God's Handbook for the Chosen to Protect the Family. This digital book is not just reading, it is the exact map that reveals who is playing against your life, who is launching these invisible arrows of envy against you and yours, what the secret rules of this war are that they never told you, and how to cut these chains at the root so that no evil eye, no bad thought, no whispered word can reach you anymore. This digital book was created for those who have awakened enough to understand that envy is not just a human feeling. It is a spiritual weapon with a name, an address, and a real effect on your family, your health, your finances, and your future. The link is pinned at the top of the comments, but I need to warn you, this type of content rarely remains available for long. What is in these pages challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact, and there have already been real attempts to silence this knowledge before. Do not wait for the right moment, chosen one. The right moment is now, because you did not arrive at this text by accident. Download it now and comment below. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. This is your act of faith. This is your first counterattack in the spiritual realm. Now that you have decided to act, the next truth I will reveal to you will be the final blow against this oppression that tried to paralyze you today. There is an ancient spiritual principle, older than any organized religion, which says the following: everything that is desired in secret in a person's heart transforms into force, and when this force cannot be realized through legitimate means, it turns outward and seeks a target. This target, most of the time, is precisely the person who possesses what the envious person desires to have. Have you never stopped to think why people close to you, sometimes from your own family in a place like Philadelphia, seem to pull away just when something good starts to happen in your life? Why does that cousin you helped in the past vanish when you buy a new car in Houston? Why does that childhood friend from Denver turn their face when you get a better job? Why are there people who smile in front of you, but you feel a weight when they leave your house? Chosen one, open your eyes. There is an invisible movement happening all the time, and envy is its fuel. It does not need to be said out loud to act. A simple look, loaded with contrary desire, is enough to open a crack in your life. A simple, painful comparison made in the silence of another person's bedroom is enough to start draining your energy. And worse, when this envy comes from someone with whom you share blood, a deep emotional bond, or years of living together, it becomes even more penetrating. Because the soul recognizes the soul, and when a nearby soul vibrates against you, your spiritual structure shakes at the foundations. But God has not abandoned you. God never abandons a chosen one. And this is where the checkmate begins to take shape with all its strength. There is a phrase that echoes in the most sacred corners of the ancient scriptures, a phrase that few people truly understand in its fullness. No weapon forged against you shall prosper. This phrase is not pretty poetry to put in a wall frame. This phrase is a cosmic decree, a spiritual sentence issued by the Creator himself in favor of his elect. When you are a chosen one, a true chosen one, marked from before the foundation of the world for a specific mission in this plane, no weapon, be it physical, emotional, spiritual, or dimensional, can prosper against you definitively. It may try. It may cause you temporary discomfort. It may delay processes. But to prosper, to win, to dominate your life, that it cannot do. Because above any envious arrow launched against you, there is an invisible shield that was placed around you by God himself on the day your soul descended to this plane. The problem is that many chosen ones have forgotten this shield. Many chosen ones were indoctrinated from childhood to doubt who they are, to diminish themselves, to accept defeat as destiny, to think that prolonged suffering is normal. And when you forget who you are, chosen one, this shield loses its glow. It does not disappear, but it loses its glow. And then the arrows start to pierce more easily. Today, the checkmate begins when you remember. Remember that you were chosen before you existed in this body. Remember that your name is written in a book that no opposing force can tear. Remember that the envy of others is, deep down, the involuntary confirmation of how much you shine. Because no one envies darkness. No one secretly desires to pull down someone who is already fallen. Envy always looks upward. Always. And if it is looking at you, it is because your spiritual height is greater than that of the envious person. Let that resonate inside you for a moment. Every time someone tried to pull you down, every time someone whispered your name with contempt in a place like Phoenix, every time someone wished the worst for you in silence, it was an involuntary confession of the greatness that lives inside you. They wouldn't be spending energy envying you if they didn't know at some deep level of their soul that you carry something they cannot reach by their own merits. But there is more. And here is one of the most disturbing revelations that very few people can digest. Human envy alone does not have that much power. What gives real power to envy is the door it opens. When someone envies you intensely and for a long time, that person, without knowing it, opens a spiritual portal between their desire and your life. And it is through this portal that parasitic entities enter, dense energies, lightless spirits that feed on discord, failure, and illness. The envious person often doesn't even know they have become a vehicle. They just feel anger, bitterness, obsessive comparison, and meanwhile darker dimensions use their frequency as a bridge to reach you. Therefore, chosen one, you need to understand. The problem is never just the person who envies you. The problem is what that person's envy invites into your life. And here enters another layer of the game. There are 3 types of envy that act against a chosen one. The first is unconscious envy, the kind where the person doesn't even realize they are feeling it, but their energy leaks against you. This is the most common and the easiest to neutralize, but if accumulated from various sources, it can cause continuous light blockages that leave you always tired, always procrastinating, always missing a spark. The second is conscious envy, the kind where the person knows what they feel, feeds that feeling, and secretly desires your failure. This already causes greater damage: inexplicable fights, delays in projects, physical malaise without a medical cause, heavy dreams in the early morning. And the third, the most dangerous, is ritualized envy, the kind where the person, with or without full awareness, seeks spiritual methods, twisted religious practices, or shadow pacts to tie up your life. This last one requires a much firmer, much more prepared, much more conscious defense, and here is the detail that few know. To defend yourself from any of the three, you do not need expensive products, bizarre charms, or complicated rituals. You need two things: knowledge and active faith. Knowledge to identify where the attack is coming from, and active faith to raise the shield that is already yours by divine right. And it is precisely upon this knowledge and this active faith that the digital book, God's Handbook for the Chosen to Protect the Family, was built, page by page, with the precision of a spiritual war map against envy. It is not just another generic self-help book. It is not just a collection of prayers copied from the internet. It is the exact detailing of how to identify which type of envy is acting against you, how to recognize the physical, emotional, and spiritual signs of each type of attack, and how to apply protection seals that work not by superstition, but by the activation of the shield that God has already placed around you since before your birth. This digital book reveals how to protect not only yourself, but your entire family, your children, your spouse, your parents, your siblings, because envy, when potent, does not only hit the main target, it splashes onto everyone orbiting around you. Have you never wondered why, when you are under attack, your mother starts feeling ill in San Francisco? Why your son starts having nightmares in Seattle? Why your wife starts having fights with people at her job in Atlanta? It is the wave of the attack, spreading through the network of affections. The digital book teaches you to build a field of protection around the whole house, around the whole lineage, shielding generation after generation against this game of evil eyes. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. But pay attention. Chosen one. This content directly challenges narratives that many people have an interest in keeping in the dark, including certain structures that prefer to keep you dependent on them instead of teaching you to use your direct spiritual authority. They have already tried to take down this material before. They have already tried to silence this knowledge. Therefore, do not wait. Download it now and comment, "I am chosen and I will download the digital book." This simple act of faith already moves the spiritual plane in your favor, because you are declaring in the visible world that you are ready to receive the truth in the invisible world. Now that you have reaffirmed your commitment, I will give you the next piece of the puzzle, and perhaps it is the most transformative of all. You need to understand, chosen one, that God's checkmate against envy never involves only defense. There is an ancient principle, taught by the highest masters of mystical traditions, which says the following: you never win a spiritual war just by defending yourself. You win when you become so luminous, so aligned with your purpose, that the arrows lose their target halfway there. It is like trying to hit a star with a stone. The higher the star shines, the more ridiculous the attempt becomes. And that is exactly what God wants to do with you in this phase. He does not just want you to protect yourself from envy. He wants to elevate you to such a point that envy becomes irrelevant, that it is absorbed by your light even before it reaches you, that the envious person, when trying to launch the arrow, realizes that the bowstring has rotted in their hands. Think of Julian from the ancient records. Think carefully about that story. He was envied by his own brothers. He was thrown into a pit. He was sold as a servant. He was falsely accused. He was imprisoned for years. But at each of these stages, something invisible continued working in his favor. And when the time for the checkmate arrived, he was sitting on the high seat of London, and the same brothers who envied him had to kneel before him asking for bread. This is God's pattern. This is the script he writes for the chosen. The envy against you is not the end. It is the beginning of the elevation script that God is conducting in your life. But for this script to be fulfilled, you need to do one thing that few can. You need to stop fighting back on the wrong plane. Most people, when they discover they are under an envy attack, make the fatal mistake of trying to hit back with the same energy. They want to speak ill of those who spoke ill of them. They want to wish the worst for those who wished the worst for them. They want to take revenge, they want to expose, they want to humiliate. And then, chosen one, do you know what happens? You descend to the same energetic level as the envious person. And when you descend to that level, the divine shield loses strength, because it only works at a high frequency. Revenge vibrates low, forgiveness vibrates high. The correct response to envy is not hatred, it is elevation. It is not discussion, it is sacred silence. It is not exposure, it is the secret of the blessing that continues to arrive. The more you rise, the more the envy sinks. It is spiritual law. It is the physics of the soul. And here comes one of the most delicate parts of this revelation, which I need to share with you because it would be dishonest of me to omit it. Not all envy comes from the outside. There is a type of internal envy that lives within the chosen one themselves, and it can be even more destructive than any external attack. It is the envy you feel when you see another chosen one prospering before you. It is the silent comparison when you see someone reach a spiritual level that you have not yet reached. It is the subtle discomfort of seeing another person receive the blessing you expected to receive first. This internal envy, chosen one, opens breaches in your own protection. Because the spiritual universe is consistent, you cannot ask to be shielded against the envy of others while cultivating, even in small doses, envy within yourself. Therefore, the first step of God's checkmate must begin within you. Look at your heart now. Honestly, is there someone in your life whose victory makes you feel a slight discomfort? Is there someone you cheer for a little less than you should? Is there someone else's success that tightens your chest without explanation? Recognizing this does not make you bad. It makes you human, and sincere recognition is already half the cure. The other half is immediate substitution. Every time you feel that slight discomfort, train your soul to bless the person out loud, even if only mentally. May this person's victory be the anticipation of mine. May this blessing they received be the sign that there are many more being prepared, including mine. When you bless another's success, you connect to the frequency of prosperity. When you envy even slightly, you disconnect. It is simple, it is direct, it is implacable. Advanced chosen ones, those who truly walk this road with mastery, understood this a long time ago. The best antidote to being envied is never to envy. The best shield against external attacks is never to emit internal attacks. The reciprocity of the spirit is absolute, and there is still something deeper. Perhaps the most unsettling truth of all. Have you ever stopped to think that many of the difficulties you went through in life, those closed doors, those broken relationships, those lost opportunities, might not have been just obstacles? Could they have been protections? Envy, when it hits your life at strategic moments, often serves to take you off paths that seemed good, but would lead you to the wrong destinations. That job offer you didn't get in Miami. Perhaps there were toxic people in that environment who were going to bring you down in a much worse way. That relationship that ended strangely in San Diego, perhaps there was hidden envy and spiritual pacts in that connection that were going to destroy you further down the road. That friendship that pulled away in Nashville, perhaps it was a silent source of drainage that needed to leave your life so that your light could shine fully again. God, in his checkmate, sometimes uses the opponent's own movement of pieces against the opponent. It is as if he allows envy to be the involuntary tool of your protection and your reorganization. Everything that pulled away from you without a clear reason, with resentment and whispering, was something that wouldn't serve you anyway. Envy only accelerated the cleaning process. Therefore, chosen one, today I ask you one thing. Look back at everything you lost, at all the people who walked away, at all the doors that closed, and say out loud, "Thank you, God, for having used even the envy of others to protect me from what I did not see. Thank you for sparing me from paths that seemed good, but were contaminated. Thank you for reorganizing my life with invisible hands." This act of gratitude, chosen one, is one of the most powerful keys to the checkmate, because when you give thanks for the losses, you have sealed the passage so that the envious person can never reach you in the same way again. Gratitude is the most lethal poison against envy. The ancients knew this, and that is why the envious person, when they see the envied person happy, grateful, and at peace even in the midst of tribulations, becomes even more furious, because they realize at some level that they have lost the game. And now we come to the strategic part of the checkmate, chosen one. There are 3 final movements you need to make starting today. 3 pieces that, when positioned correctly on the board of your spiritual life, end the game of envy once and for all. The first movement is sacred silence regarding your ongoing achievements. Stop immediately telling everyone what is about to happen in your life. That business deal you want to close, silence. That trip you are planning to London, silence. That new relationship starting in Austin, silence. That financial improvement taking shape, silence. It is not secret out of fear, it is protection out of wisdom. The ancient sages always taught, what has not yet sprouted do not expose to the wind. The planted seed needs time in the dark before blossoming in the sun. When you talk too much, you expose the seed. And any envious look, intentional or not, can dry up that seed before it even germinates. Tell only after it is established. Tell only after it is consolidated. And even then, tell with humility, without ostentation, without excessive details. The second movement is detachment from draining environments. There are places, people, encounters, conversations that suck your energy. You notice it because you leave there exhausted, without understanding why. These environments can be family, professional, religious, or social. It doesn't matter. If you leave exhausted, it is because you are being drained. Decrease the frequency, reduce the time. Create distance without needing to explain. You do not owe an explanation to those who are weakening you, even if that person is weakening you unconsciously. Spiritual protection requires practical choices in the physical world. And the third movement, the most powerful of all, is the daily sealing prayer. Every day upon waking up, before any other action, before picking up your phone, before having coffee, before talking to anyone, close your eyes and declare out loud, I am chosen, I am surrounded by light. No weapon forged against me prospers. No envious eye reaches me. No contrary word hits me. All envy dissolves in the air before reaching me. I live in another frequency, and in the frequency I live in, the attack is not permitted to enter. Amen. Repeat this every day, without fail. In 7 days you will feel a difference. In 21 days your life will be visibly changing. In 40 days the game has turned. These 3 pieces, sacred silence, detachment from draining environments, and daily sealing prayer, are just the beginning of what is meticulously detailed in the digital book, God's Handbook for the Chosen to Protect the Family. Inside you will find not only these practices, but dozens of other spiritual techniques against envy that were preserved for centuries by the guardians of sacred knowledge and are now within your reach. You will discover the specific names of frequencies that dissolve envy, the exact prayers for each type of envious attack, the protection symbols that can be activated in your home in Liverpool or Los Angeles against evil eyes, the times of day when your protection needs to be reinforced because the channel of envy is more open, the unmistakable signs that indicate someone close is envying you even without realizing it, and, perhaps most importantly, how to identify if ritualized envy is acting against you, and how to neutralize it step by step, without needing intermediaries, without needing to pay for expensive consultations, without needing to surrender your spiritual authority to anyone. This digital book puts you back in the command seat of your own spiritual life, because this was always God's will, that each chosen one be their own priest, their own fortress, their own authority, of course under divine covering, but without dependence on human structures that often weaken you instead of strengthening you. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. And I must remind you once again, this content has already been the target of censorship attempts because it exposes the game of envy in a way that many prefer to keep hidden. There are forces, both human and spiritual, that prefer you never have access to this knowledge, because an informed chosen one is a free chosen one, and a free chosen one cannot be manipulated, cannot be exploited, cannot be drained by envious eyes. Therefore, download it now before something happens to its availability. Comment below, I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. This comment is more than a marketing act. It is a spiritual declaration. It is you positioning yourself publicly as someone who has taken charge of their own destiny, who has decided no longer to be a piece on someone else's board, but a conscious player in their own journey. And to close this revelation, chosen one, I want to give you the final truth, the piece of the checkmate that perhaps no other place has told you with this clarity. The envy that tried to lock up your life today was not just an attack, it was also a sign that you are about to enter a new phase, because envy only intensifies immediately before an elevation. It is as if the spiritual plane launches one last attempt to pull you down before the leap you are about to take. Experienced chosen ones recognize this pattern. When envy attacks intensify, when heavy looks seem to come from all sides, when everything seems to conspire against you at the same time, it is not the end. It is the last paragraph of the old chapter before the start of the new one. It is the wind hitting harder because you are reaching the top of the mountain. It is the river current intensifying because you are about to reach the waterfall of revelation. Do not give up now, chosen one. Not right now, when you are so close. The envy you felt today is the confirmation that something great is being born in your life. Something that will change not only you but your entire lineage. Something that will break ancient cycles in your family, where envy, scarcity, and blockages were passed from generation to generation. Something that will position future generations on a level that no one before you reached. You are the turning point. You are the portal between what was and what will be. That is why they tried to stop you today. That is why they envied you so much. That is why they whispered your name in the dark. Because they know, in some deep place in their souls, that if you pass this phase, the entire structure changes. And you will pass. You will pass because it was written before time. You will pass because you were marked before birth. You will pass because God, in his checkmate, never loses a match. Before you close this video, perform this last act of faith. Go to the top of the comments and download the digital book, God's Handbook for the Chosen to Protect the Family. Do not let this moment pass. Do not let the urgency dilute. The knowledge in this digital book is what will equip you for the next 12 months of your life. Months that will be decisive, months in which envy will try to return disguised, months in which your protection needs to be firm against old and new evil eyes. This digital book is the exact map of how to neutralize each type of envy that tried to lock up your life today and everything that is yet to come. Download it now. Comment "I am chosen" and I will download the digital book. And then come back here and tell me in the comments what was the biggest envy blockage you felt today. Because this community is a network of the chosen, and when one rises, all rise. You are not alone on this journey. You never were. I am here. Other chosen ones are here. And above all, God is here, sitting calmly before the board, with his hand extended over his most important piece, you, preparing the final move against every envious person who dared to stand against your destiny. Check. And soon, chosen one sooner, mate. Envy has lost the game. You have already won before you even knew it. Stand firm. Remain in sacred silence. Remain in gratitude, because heaven is applauding every step you take now, and when the envious person looks at you a few months from now, they won't be able to understand how you got so far. But you will know. You will know it was God. It was your active faith. It was the knowledge you sought. It was the digital book you downloaded today. It was every choice not to hit back. It was every sealing prayer. It was every blessing you launched in the place where you could have launched a curse. This is the way. This is the checkmate. And it begins today, now, at this exact instant when you decide that envy will no longer govern a single minute of your life. You are chosen. You are shielded. You are free. And the game finally has turned in your favor.